Hello again, beautiful people. Welcome back to another Motivational Wednesday. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. If you're new to my channel, my name is Samantha. Thank you for clicking onto this video. I pray you'll stick around, check some of my videos out, and subscribe to my channel. So this morning is a continuation of the King David and Bathsheba story. Last week I stopped at verse 11, 2 Samuel chapter 11, verse 11. Verse 11 is where Uriah told King David that he was going to go down to his house to sleep with his wife, because King David wanted Uriah to go down to his house, sleep with his wife, to cover up what King David did, because King David got Uriah's wife pregnant while he was at war. Let's read this morning, starting from verse 11, and I will stop at verse 17. And Uriah said unto David, The ark and Israel and Judah abide in tents, and my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are encamped in the open fields. Shall I then go into mine house to eat and to drink and to lie with my wife? As thou livest, and as thy soul liveth, I will not do this thing. I am not going down there to sleep with my wife. I'm not thinking about no pleasure right now. I'm thinking about war. I'm thinking about fighting for Israel's army. What a loyal man. Let me tell you, people, it is so hard to find loyal people like Uriah these days. They don't exist. Trust me. And David said to Uriah, Tarry here today also, and tomorrow. I will let thee depart. So Uriah abode in Jerusalem that day and the morrow. And when David had called him, he did eat and drink before him, and he made him drunk. People, King David made Uriah drunk, because he thought, if I get him drunk, then maybe he would want to go down there and sleep with his wife. But listen. And at even he went out to lie on his bed, that is Uriah, with the servant of his lord, but went not down to his house. Uriah was determined that I am not going down there, David. I don't want no pleasure right now. I know my wife is beautiful, but I'm not thinking about her right now. This man was so faithful to King David and Israel's army people. Listen this morning to verse 14, because this is where the plot is. And it came to pass in the morning that David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it by the hand of Uriah people. A letter. So let's read what is in the letter this morning, what he wrote in the letter. And he wrote in the letter, saying, Set ye Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle, and retire ye from him. Leave him. Leave him, that he may be smitten and die. People, what a plot. And it came to pass that Joab observed the city, and he assigned Uriah unto a place where he knew that valiant men were. And the men of the city went out and fought with Joab, and there fell some of the people of the servants of David, and Uriah the Hittite died also. So Uriah died, people, at the war. And I will have a part 3 in this story, because God did not like what King David did. So I have to do a part 3. I'm going to stop here at verse 17. But let us focus again this morning on the plot. Beautiful people, Uriah was so faithful to David that the man carried his own death sentence in his hand. He was so faithful that, King David took him from the war. He didn't even question, why is he taking me from the war to go home, and he's insisting that I go home and sleep with my wife. And I keep telling this man that I don't want to go home. I want to go back to the war to fight for the people of Israel. People, let me tell you something. Trust no one. He carried his own death sentence. People, let me tell you something. What happened to me 12 years ago. 12 years ago, I was on a job, and I remember I was at that job 2 years before my boss's girlfriend. She also had a child for him. Came there to live. And people, let me tell you something. This lady, she and I, we just couldn't get along. And I remember one day, it was a Thursday. I remembered it like yesterday, even though it happened 12 years ago. It was a Thursday before the Friday that I was to go home. She brought this 12 by 12 jewelry box. And she said, Samantha, you know, I have this jewelry box and I'm not using it. You can have it. And people, I was like, okay. And I was like, why is she giving me a jewelry box? At the time when I was at the job, people, I was only wearing a small gold chain around my neck. I didn't wear earrings. I wasn't wearing bracelet at the time because the only reason why I'm wearing bracelets now is because I make them myself. And I just couldn't understand people why this lady was giving me a 12 by 12 jewelry box. And I remember when I was, picture this morning at verse 14. Picture Uriah this morning, people, carrying his own death sentence in his hand. Because when I read this story, I remember when I was taking the jewelry box around to my room that the lady gifted me, because it was a Thursday evening, and after she gifted me the box, she went and dropped off her son at one of his evening activities. And I remember when I was going to my room with the box, I kept on asking myself, why is she giving me this box? Why? Now, what if Uriah asked himself that question? What is in this letter? Let me tell you, if he had opened that letter, that man would have saved his life, because I know he would have run away. Because he would have realized that they are trying to kill me. And one of the reasons why I kept on asking myself why this lady is giving me a gift was a couple of weeks before we had a big fight in the kitchen one morning. And people, let me tell you, I almost lay hands on that woman. And I'm not talking holy hands. I almost laid hands on her because we had a huge argument. And I remember a couple of hours after the argument, my boss called me upstairs and he asked me, he said, Samantha, why you and Mrs. So-and-so can't get along? And I remember saying to him, I don't know, sir, but I knew. But I'm not going to tell you this morning. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this when I do the Potiphar's wife and Joseph story. People, let me tell you something. I remember when I went to my room with the box and I kept on asking why this lady gifted me this box. I heard a small voice said, pull out the drawers. And I started to pull them out, people. And I remember when I reached the last one, which was the largest drawer, 7 drawers, I saw a little container like this. And in the container, it was full of jewelry, gold and silver. The man was a rich Indian man, so it was some very nice gold and silver. And I remember, so I said to myself, oh, so she's trying to get me fired. And she wanted to add thief to my name. But people, because I have the spirit of discernment, that didn't happen. Ask God for the spirit of discernment. And people, whenever you go on a job and you realize that, sometimes it's a lot of staff and so, don't trust everybody. Be careful who you trust. Do not trust people. Remember when I saw the jewelry box, I went to the garage and I stood there and I waited until she drove in. And I said to her, Miss So-and-so, I saw this in the jewelry box that you gave me. And she was like, oh my Lord, they're my son's, I don't want to call the little boy's name. They're my son's jewelry from he was a baby until now. Thank you so much. And I was like, okay, and I walked away. But people, I walked away because I said, the devil is a liar, and you think I'm going to get fired here because you setting me up? The God that I serve wouldn't let that happen. Trust no one this morning. This lady didn't like me. And she thought, okay, she must go home tomorrow, man, and she's going to bring it. Just imagine, people, if I had walked through the gate that Friday with the box, with all of her son's jewelry. People, think about it this morning. Uriah had his own death sentence in his hand, and I had the reason that I was to get fired. And I remember, people, about 6 months after that, she fired me. And all she told me was, Samantha, we have to let you go because we just can't get along. But she did not fire me. for stealing. Hell no, she didn't. Because the God that I serve, as I said a while ago, wouldn't let it happen. People, let me tell you, trust no one this morning. Uriah died at the hands of King David. A man he was faithful to. Faithful and loyal. Uriah was one of the best soldiers in Israel's army. Next week, if God's willing, I will do part 3 of this story. Because God wasn't pleased with what David did. Thank you guys for watching this morning. Thank you guys for subscribing. I will stop here. I don't want my video to be long. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing. On Saturday, I will have my Save the Challenge update for the month of February. God bless you all.